had the welding set up on time lapse, and unfortunately we missed the welding videos, but I'm not that good of a welder anyway. But it did take some persuading to get this thing to stick down. I drilled holes in it, or punched holes in it. I did burn through the original hood a few times and had to tack the sides down in a few spots. But there is a little bit of a wave to it. But I'm not worried about that because the hood was wavy anyway because it's full of Bondo. It's probably going to be more rigid now than it ever was. And I took like a flap disc and just kind of knocked all the sharp edges off, but I didn't really cut down deep enough where I could burn through my welds. This was all beat down and was made out of Bondo, this whole point. You can see where it's got like a hammer head on it. Got a bunch of runs up here, and this primer is just weld through primer that we'll sand back off when we get ready to. We're going to put some fiberglass on this, but what was bad is there's a curve right here, and this thing wanted to be straight. So I got into a lot of beating and banging. Oh man, that was sharp. That hurt. That's a sharp edge right there. Got into a bunch of beating and banging right here to try to get this corner to stay, and it actually pulled the metal up on the hood. You can see there's kind of a high spot here, but that was to get it to weld. And it done the same thing over here, but when we start flattening this hood out, I'll just fill this low spot in because it's low here where the corner was, because this, when I started prying down on that back corner, it really started pushing this down. But this will fill in. We're going to put fiberglass all the way around it, just kind of make it waterproof and try to stay away from these edges because I don't want to build a big roll up on the side of it just to crack. I want to get it real flat with fiberglass and just put a slight little bit of body filler on it. I burnt through the underneath of the hood a couple of times, and I'll flip it over and fix that. But this side I didn't put nearly as much weld on. I just put it through the holes that I had punched out, and where it burned out I filled a couple spots in where it burned through, because these holes, that little hand punch I got will barely go over here. It doesn't go over there much, so it burns through the side of this thin, I guess 20 gauge sheet metal. But it's not very rigid right here. I don't guess it matters. I'm going to cut most of this back. I'm going to cut it over here and kind of slightly angle it back and then come across maybe a couple of inches. We'll see. I got plenty of room right here to play with because the back of the hood is that if I slide it up maybe 3 inches, it'll miss these wipers. But I've worked on this thing probably for the last 3 hours, and I didn't get a bit of it on video. My battery was dead. I thought I was time-lapsing the whole thing. But it's stuck on there. And it's probably not going anywhere as long as I get some fiberglass. I don't know what to do about down inside because I know at some point water is going to get down in there. But I mean, it ain't that big of a deal. The hood's not worth that much. This was a cheap scoop. It came pre-damaged. It was already damaged. The FedEx guy delivered it, and he said it had FedEx tape all over the box. And I said, well, I'm going to get this out and look at it. He said, oh, there's no need looking at it. We just opened it up and looked at it, and everything was fine. So you don't have to worry about it. And I didn't. I let it sit for 2 or 3 months, and then I opened it. Sure enough, it was crushed. Everything I get from FedEx, I might have said UPS, but it's FedEx. Everything I get from FedEx is damaged. Everything that I get sheet metal from FedEx is damaged. It's a private contractor around here, and I don't know if I airdrop it into their facility with parachutes or what, but every piece of sheet metal that comes off that truck, I know I have to look at. I didn't this time. I trusted him, and that's what it got me. But I knocked it out a little bit. I'll fix it. I got to fix the rest of it anyway, so I'll try to make it look halfway decent. I thought it would be kind of oil canny because I had this big bend in it, but really it's not oil canny at all. A little bit loose back here, but I could always put a brace in it, put a piece of screen back there or something. I don't know, we'll figure something out. But I've got this far. It's probably not a very long video because, of course, I lost the majority of it in time lapse that it was supposed to be in time lapse, but I just wanted to give you guys an update on the Disco Nova hood. We've started redoing this car. There's going to be a little fiberglass, a little Bondo in this hood, and that ain't that big of a deal. We'll get another hood one of these days. These fenders are relatively new. There's a slight little bit of Bondo where it had people have been leaning on the fender, but there's very little Bondo in this. The waves you see in this paint are from dents where I've leaned on it, and I haven't taken very good care of it. But we've got a new core support. We've got two new front fenders. The doors are salvageable. We'll work those. The rockers need to be repaired, and the rear quarters are, somebody made them out of fiberglass underneath that light back there. It's got quite a bit of metal over top of the fenders, but they have put some fiberglass and some Bondo over top of the arches. You can see a little there, but it's really, there's metal in there, so they might be salvageable too. I don't know. We'll see. We may fix this car. We may not. I may just drive it because it's been fun. But I want the hood scoop. I've always wanted this scoop on there. Not because we need it, but because we want it. But I appreciate you guys watching, riding along with me and hanging out. Thanks for being here, everybody. Stay clean.